Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Emmett and Rose Kennan Hall of Fame building here on the MTSU campus. And welcome to the 2020 induction of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame. I'm Chip Walters. This is a special place, and tonight we're going to induct a special group of people. Over time, over 100 years of athletics here at Middle Tennessee, there have only been 158 individuals who have gone in the Hall of Fame until tonight. It all started back in 1976 with the inaugural class that included Horace Jones, Bubba Murphy, and Teddy Morris. Well, tonight there will be 6 more individuals that will be etched into the history of Blue Raider athletics. To get our program started tonight, let's welcome our president, Dr. Zitney A. McPhee.
And it's my pleasure to congratulate all of our outstanding Hall of Fame recipients for this year. To Bryce Brentz from baseball, Clay Snellgrove, baseball, Alicia Clark, women's basketball, Mike Harmon, men's golf, Kendall Newson, football, and Heather Prater Warren, women's basketball. We are proud of all of you. You represent the best of this university. You're part of the foundation that has propelled this university as a national institution, not only just in academics, but also athletics. We want you to know that we hope that you will continue to be part of the Blue Raider family. Please stay safe in this pandemic environment. We look forward to having you on our campus. This is a beautiful campus. If you have not visited us in the last few years, I think you will be very impressed and proud of your institution. Thank you so much for what you've done for MTSU, and please be safe and stay healthy.
Thanks, Dr. McPhee, and thanks for your continued support of Blue Raider athletics. Well, you know, every year it seems like when we announce the new Hall of Fame class, it's like, wow, can't get much better than that. Well, you look at this group in 2020, you can't get much better than that. 2 terrific women's basketball players, 2 great baseball players. You've got a football player who's one of the best to ever play here, and a golfer who is a citizen of the world. He's been everywhere. It's time now to meet the class of 2020. Bryce Brentz was a 5-time first-team All-American during a heralded career that also saw him become Middle Tennessee's all-time home run leader. Bryce was the 2009 Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year and a 3-time All-League selection. He helped lead the Blue Raiders to a school record 44 wins in 2009 when he led Division I in home runs and RBIs. Bryce tops the Middle Tennessee career list for home runs, slugging percentage, and multi-home run games. In all, he's in the top 3 of 7 career categories: home runs, first; slugging percentage, first; multi-home run games, first; batting average, second; runs scored, second; total bases, second; and RBIs, third. Bryce also ranks first in 7 single-season categories, and he's the only Blue Raider position player to be named first-team All-American by Baseball America and by the NCBWA. Bryce was a first-round draft pick of the Boston Red Sox in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, the 159th member of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame, Bryce Brentz.
Thank you. It's a weird year. I'm glad I have my family here, and I'm glad I have my wife and my brother and Clay. I know we're missing a few people, but it's kind of funny when you think about everything that's happened and throughout baseball, and if it all matters to sit here and to say that the good Lord blessed me is because of Him, I think that's all that really matters in this world. I've been lucky, been blessed. My wife is, y'all know her as Anne Marie, and I was happy to change her last name, and got 2 beautiful kids, and they're here with us now. And I'm, like I said, I've just been a lucky person. This day, I know we're getting recognized, but there was a lot of people. It wasn't me, just me. It wasn't. I know I had to go play, but there was a long line when I first walked up and I saw MTSU's campus. It was something about it. There's something about coaches, and heard a lot of great things. And I fell in love with this place as soon as I walked in. It was the only visit I ever took, really. Didn't care about it. Once I saw Coach Pete and we talked, and getting to that point was just, I was just lucky to be there. Really didn't have anything, had no scholarships lined up. And then I had a friend of mine, Nate Headley, who came in there and said, "Hey, you need to start playing baseball." And start doing it 24/7. I said, okay. Got a few lessons, and then, we started having some success. And I knew I had talent. Honestly, I just didn't want to have to pay for school. And then, one thing led to another and led to another, and I just kind of became obsessed with hitting, especially because I was kind of known for pitching in high school. So it was one of those things where I don't know, I loved the game. I felt like I had to figure out more at a later time because I thought I was going to be football. I thought I was going to be like my father. But Jared got all the size, so I was like, well, I guess we're going to have to try out baseball. I got to do something. And Mom, Dad, Jared, I'll get to y'all later. I'm trying not to. I just don't feel like crying right now, and that's even hard. It's hard enough as it is. So we'll, but I got here, and then I had a lot of people. I had a guy named Mack, Josh Rennick, who were former players. Josh was actually already in the Hall of Fame here, and he helped me out so much with hitting. Even when I was in pro ball, every off season, he was in the cage with me, and like I said, I had a lot of people in my corner, and I had a tradition to feel. I felt like Coach Pete, Jim McGuire, Coach McClory, they were instruments in all of this. They know people. Baseball's a small world, but it's just funny how you connect with people. And when I was here, it was obviously some of the most fun I've ever got to play the game, and not because of the success. It was the people, and the success does help. I'm not saying it doesn't, but there's just stuff there that you just don't get to really do again. And even in pro ball, it's a different world. It's a different environment. And the college level, though, it was more joy. It's not a job. And the people, our teammates, every one of them, man, they all helped. If it wasn't for Raleigh Bishop, I feel like if I don't come here to MTSU, if I went someplace else, he would be the one standing in front of you right now, because he would be the home run king. And that man didn't even speak to me my freshman year until about halfway through spring ball. Right for the first game was the first time he actually talked to me, and I tried to pick his brain. He would we were in the cage. He would never say a word to me, but I was in there because he led by example. I wanted to emulate him. I even didn't wear batting gloves at times just because he didn't do it, and I thought it was just I really was. I was in awe of him. Not only as a person, just his work ethic. And I knew he was going to be gone, so I had 2 years with him, and it just kind of just rolled into it. I was like, well, somebody's got to be the next Bishop, and that's what I tried to do. And like I said, once we got, had our success, we had our teammates, and it wasn't, Raleigh was just, like I said, I felt like he was my protector. And, we had Hines, and I thought Coach Pete and McGuire, they always did, the lineup would change a little bit, but they would always do it based on who was hot. They would always try to take care of us, put us in good position to be successful. And we did. We worked hard, we played hard, and we did the right things. And I felt like our success it wasn't so much of me, it was more of a collective unit. And, as far as that, my parents, my mom, and for always just, it's funny, down. I see it. Now I got kids, and I know my brother does too, and how much more laundry there is. How much it takes, and you're folding up, and it's funny when I was folding up Everly's clothes and seeing now that her clothes are getting bigger, Landry's are starting to grow too. I understand. Here's the hard part. But just everything you did, I'm looking forward to the time I get to get some dirt out of some pants and for the kids and everything, but for being there, for doing everything. I think it's his heart. It's been an eye-opening experience. And Dad, same thing, man. Used to see all your trophies and your pictures and stuff in the bonus room. I'll be honest, I wanted more. I felt like if I didn't have more, I felt like I'd been a failure. And not because of the competitiveness with you or with Jared, more just with myself. And I wanted my kids to have an example like you, like Mom, and just know that, hey, you got some shoes to fill, and I wanted to make it hard on them and let them know that, hey, you're gonna be fine. God's gonna take care of you, but we're gonna. Sports is part of our blood. It just always has been. We didn't do a lot of stuff. We were always playing. And you and Mom just sacrificed so much, and it was something that I admit I took a lot of it for granted. Worm? Damn, man. I always felt like whatever I did, you would have done. You probably would have done a lot better. You were the most gifted player I ever saw. Because of your talent, because of everything you overcome, I really just didn't have an option, in my opinion. I called Jared one time. It was my first year in baseball, and I was hitting so bad. And I was asking him about maybe you think they'd let me go pitch or something. I mean, Jared, I don't know if I can do this. And statement always just kind of stuck with me. He was like, yeah, well, so you having a bad week? I said, I'm having a bad month. I'm having a bad season. And he's like, yeah, well, I had to put my feet on this morning when I walked out the door. And that just kind of always stuck with me. And I've always valued your perspective on everything. I've admired how have always been 5-10 years down the road of everybody else. But I also had to feel like I had to play for two of us. And if I didn't, I was going to have to hear about it at Thanksgiving from you, so I just really didn't want to go that route. You always were in the back of my mind, bud. Especially during the slumps, the times I didn't want to do it. I know you'd kill for that opportunity. and it wouldn't be right. So, man, this is hard. I love y'all. I wish I'd have maybe done more for you. I'm blessed for this university, the people behind it, the people in the committee. To be a part of this is something special. My family, the support, not only just, and even from strangers. I think the community of MTSU is something beautiful. I never left it. Met my wife, and we don't want to call any other place home. And this is, I think it says something about the fabric of this university. That being said, it's humbling to be up here to give this speech, and especially in these times, it's weird. But we're going to press on. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for everything. God bless.
You knew this day was coming, and it can be overwhelming, and you have emotions, and that's a good thing. Did you know that you knew that was going to happen, didn't you?
I did, man. It bit me hard. When we found out that day, I mean, as soon as I just brought up Coach Pete, it just hit, and I knew, my family, when I started talking about them, I was going to get super emotional. With my wife, it was one of those things where if I talked about her for about another second or two, it was going to start coming really hard. I think it's just, I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for the support and the love of the people that's been behind me. It's just, I put it this way with Coach Pete, and I might get tore up again, but we always talked about going fishing, and he loved it. And I did too, but they would say, hey, if you go with Coach Pete, it's going to be an all-day thing. You better bring some lunch. We're going to leave the water. And we never did it. We never did it. And it was something that I regret, but it was something that it was a very valuable lesson. With the people you have, you get a chance to recognize those people and tell them what you think and let them see how you really feel. I think it's something special.
I'll share something with you. That's one of my biggest regrets, because Pete and I talked about that a lot. I said, when are you going to take me fishing? You just call, let me know, and dadgum, I never did it. So he was one of the most uncomplicated guys. And I think that the simplicity of the way he looked at the game and the way that he looked at people and treated people served him so well. Would you agree?
I would. I think, my freshman year when they were building the stadium and everybody had to sit in the football stadium, I think we were one of the few teams that got a glimpse of how we really felt, because there was no fans, and we were basically on our own. And that was, he was more fired up, he was more competitive, and obviously would get onto us in a different manner because everybody was in the football stadium, not, in the baseball stand. So when our sophomore year, when we got some people back and we actually had the stadium and it was, people were closer and actually could see Coach Pete, I think we all had a little sigh of relief. But he had his style, he had his ways. Coming out of high school, that was the number one thing I heard was like, hey, you need to go to MTSU. There's Coach Pete's there. They got a great staff. They're not going anywhere. And they were making some changes in some other universities that I was looking at. But every scout, every person that I knew didn't have anything to say about MTSU in a negative way. And everybody spoke so highly of Coach Pete. And when I came and I met him and we shook hands, he said, now, if you shake hands, that means you're coming. I said, yeah, I'll be here. And he was old school. I mean, he really was. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And he was the coach that he would let you say, hey, if you wanted the ball. I mean, I remember when he took me out one time when I didn't want to come out, and I let it happen. And then the next time, I begged him in a not so polite way to let me stay on the mound and finish the inning, and he let me do it. and I'm just really grateful that I got the out done and I finished the inning, because if not, I did not want to go back to the dugout. But he was that way, and I respect him so much for him, and he took care of us. He took care of all of us, and he didn't treat anybody. Actually, I think I got treated worse. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, put me on the scout team for inter squads when the varsity's playing the scout team. So, like I said, it was one of those things, and he didn't treat me any different, and I respect him for it, and I thank him for it. And I said the fishing would have been nice.
You, how life has gone with you, with your wife Anne Marie, and you've literally played all over the world. You've played in the big stage, but this always comes back to being home. And is this what keeps you grounded, this campus, this place?
I think, yes. I mean, I think what keeps me grounded is I think I might be the only person who's played in the big leagues in recent memory here. And people know my wife more. She's the one they stop and talk to in Kroger. So, and I'm just like, oh, hey, and Anne Marie is, I feel like she was the superstar, her and with Alicia and their basketball squad. I mean, it was something special. And, the people, like I said, I think just because of our relationships and just how the university and you, Tony, Sorrow, staff here now with baseball is great. I think everybody just once you get into the fabric, you stay. It stays with you, and the longer you be a part of it, the more, we've been, 10 years out, and, since 2007. And, I mean, it's not like we just roll back into it. I wouldn't see you for 8 months. I come back, and we just, how things going, this and that.
The great ones always want to do more, and you're almost apologetic in your speech for not having done more with all that you've already done, and when you're here. Why is that?
I don't know. It was my brother and I we were competitive growing up. A game of baseball would turn into a fight, and then it turned to, it would always escalate, but we were always playing. My parents were always wanting us to be outside to do stuff, and I was glad to have him. I just felt like some things didn't happen the way I wanted to, but I don't know. I feel like, and Clay, look at him. I mean, he's telling you he's 5 foot, 140 pounds, senior year, and then he's coming to a Division I school winning 3 championships. I mean, baseball is one of those games where you're going to fail. You're failing no matter what. You fail 70% of the time, they put you in a Hall of Fame, and they do. Yep. And it's one of those things where once you you don't get used to it because you always want to succeed. You want to be great. I think if you're not trying to or not have that mentality, life's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. And like I said, I felt like I could have done more, but I'm not disappointed with what I did for sure. I've been very blessed.
Well, your home now forever is right here in the Hall of Fame. That's where you need to be. Congratulations. Our next inductee is Alicia Clark. Alicia was a dominant force in her 2 seasons as a Lady Raider, leading the NCAA Division I in scoring both seasons. Alicia was named to 8 All-American teams and was the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year in 2009 and 2010. Alicia was also named Most Valuable Player of the Sun Belt Championships both seasons. She owns the top 6 single-game scoring marks in program history with 6 games of 44 or more points, including a school record 50. Alicia is a member of the 1,000-point club with 1,756 points in 2 years, ranking 10th all-time. Alicia is first on the Lady Raider career list for scoring average and field goal percentage, 3rd all-time for rebound average, 4th for free throw percentage, and 5th for free throws made. She had 55 double-figure scoring games and 37 double-doubles during her 2 seasons, which is 2nd on the Lady Raider career list. And again this year, she's a world champion. Please welcome the 160th member of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame, Alicia Clark.
hell of a month. I'm extremely grateful to be here. I don't really know like how you can prepare for something like this. I've kind of gone back and forth with trying to decide, like, do I write a speech? Do I just speak with what, just let it all out? Like, how do I go about this? And one thing about me is that anything that I do genuinely. So I felt like bullet points it is. To be standing up here, to be a Hall of Fame inductee is something that I never could have imagined for myself. I wasn't a sports kid growing up, so being sweaty wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed, and so I wasn't into sports. And it wasn't until middle school, when we lived in Topeka, Kansas, that I actually got into sports. Sixth graders weren't allowed to play sports, only seventh and eighth graders. So to keep from having to go home right after school and do all the chores and homework, I was like, you know what? The deal was, if you have extracurricular activities after school, you didn't have to come right home to do chores. So I was like, yeah, this is my out from chores. Like, of course I'm going to do sports. So I literally did everything, basketball, volleyball, tumbling, and track. And I fell in love with volleyball and track. And so going into high school, those were my sports. And I was trying to find something to do in between the seasons. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go try out for the basketball team so I don't have to work out, and this will keep me in shape and be ready for track. And so that was my introduction with basketball at Topeka West High School. And from there, we moved here to Mount Juliet, where, basketball in Tennessee is the mecca for women's sports. So I was in for a culture shock when it came to what basketball really was. So, Chris Fryer and John Sims really laid the foundation for me, my two high school coaches, teaching me what a pivot was, teaching me how to shoot a jump shot, teaching me how to throw a bounce pass. And those are some of the fundamentals that I rely on now as a professional. There's not many moments where you get to kind of sit back and reflect on how far you've come in your journey. And for me, I'm always looking for ways to get better. I'm always looking for ways in which I can be better. And so today is a moment for me to kind of just pause and reflect. And so, untraditional route, went to Belmont down the road for 2 years and had some discussions with Beth Stark, my coach from there, about, what was possible for me. And at the time, I called Crystal Horton, who was playing here at Middle, and I was like, hey, so I'm looking to transfer. Do you guys have any position for me? Like, do you think you have a spot for me if I decide to come there? And she was like, are you kidding me? Like, can you come today? And I was like, well, I'll drive up there. And so from that day, when I stepped foot here in Murphy Center and had a conversation with Coach Insel, it was very clear that this is where I belonged. And the Blue Raider family, embraced me with open arms. My teammates, everybody, all the staff, from the administration down, treated me like I've been here since my freshman year. And so those 3 years for me were some of the best years of my life. And just the family atmosphere that was here, the support from my teammates. A lot of people look back, hearing Chip say all these accomplishments, I'm blown away, like, who did that? So, my teammates were super encouraging, really supportive of me. Coach Insel pushed me to the max of what I thought I had inside of me. He pushed me beyond that. And I said I wasn't going to cry. And I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for him. We've had our battles, we've had our fights. We're both very strong-headed, is what I will say, strong-headed individuals. But, he saw something special in me. And he is the one who told me I would have a chance as a professional. And had I not come here under this program and played the competition that we played, I would have never known. I would have been second guessing and wondering if I was good enough. And today I stand here, a Hall of Fame inductee, a two-time world champ, because of what MT did for me. So I'm extremely grateful. I am extremely humbled. I still can't even believe this is real. like I said, it's been a hell of a month. There's a lot of things that have happened, from being in the bubble to winning a championship to coming here and being here in front of my family. You know, all I ever wanted to do was make them proud. And I hope I've done that. So thank you to everybody that voted me in this year. Thank you to Coach Insel, every coach and teammate along the way that has played a part in my career as an athlete, has played a part in who I am as a woman. And I just hope that any little girl or little boy, when they look at me, when they come up here and see my jersey and hear my story, that they feel inspired, that they feel inspired to try to do something to just change the environment around them and spread love and spread kindness, and understand that whatever you go through, the road to success is never straight. And I hope that you don't lose hope along the way, and I hope that you can continue to spread hope every step of the way. And when it's all said and done, you can sit back and say, I left my mark, not as an athlete, but as a human being. So thank you.
I put this date on my calendar 10 years ago because I knew, it was a no-brainer that whenever Alicia Clark became eligible for the Hall of Fame, it was an absolute no-brainer. I'm a huge fan, always have been. What did getting the word about this mean to you?
Well, Chip, first, thank you. I mean, I didn't have this on my calendar 10 years ago, so the fact that you believed in me that much, that really means a lot. I mean, this was everything. You never know. As athletes, everything in your career and all the awards and accolades are so uncertain. And I was speechless, honestly. When Tony called me to tell me, I was speechless.
Yeah, and then we snookered you on the Zoom call.
Yeah, I was, and it's funny because we were just getting into the bubble, moving in, getting situated, and it was literally right in the middle of the day, and I was just planning everything around. I was like, okay, I need to be on the Zoom call, and I'm stressed because I'm I have this amount of time for the Zoom call, and then right after I got to do this, and then when I got on and that's the announcement that it was, I was like, okay, it was worth it. It was worth being stressed all morning.
And I was amazed in your speech that basketball was a means to get out of working out for volleyball. Is that how it all happened?
Yeah, and I needed something to do to keep me in shape until track season. So I was like, let's go try out for the basketball team. You did this thing in middle school, you know how to what the ball and how to dribble it. Yeah, go try out for it.
And you've throughout your college career, and in high school you were probably a true post player, but in college, I mean, I still think about the Michigan State game and that 8-foot-tall girl that was over on top of you, and now in the WNBA, you're an undersized post player. And have you enjoyed that fight that you've had to have all along the way? Where does that fire come from?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've always had inside of me, even before I played sports. It was academics. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to have the best book report. I wanted to have the coolest science fair project. I wanted to have, that's always been how I've been. And my siblings and my family can attest to that. And I've always had a drive inside of me when I was younger. I had a paper route. I did a lemonade stand. I did a lawn mowing business. Just like I relied on myself and pushed myself to be able to like provide. I know my parents provided, but provide for myself. And so that's something that's always just been inside of me. And, I just, this journey, man, is, you talk about the Michigan State game. There's so many thoughts I have about that game, even to this day. Like, if you could have just shot from outside, like, you would have been so much better in that game. If you would have been able to do this, like, you would have killed even, like, so there's a lot of things. But yeah, for me, this journey's been amazing. It's been really hard. I think not everybody could have sustained on this entire time. The constant rejection and the letdowns and the re-identifying who I was as a player. And so now being in the WNBA, being a big guard, and having that background of being an actual true post player, guards that have always just been big, they don't really understand like the little things of being a post player. So that's something that I've been able to use to my advantage over the years. And it's been a fun ride, Chip. It really has.
From playing in Israel to playing in France to playing in Seattle, what's it like being a world citizen?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for sure. You're constantly packing your life up in 6-month increments. But for me, every time I travel overseas, no matter what country I go in, I try to immerse myself in the culture and learn as much about it as I can. And it's fun. Like, I'm getting to see things. Like, basketball has taken me places I never would have thought I would have gotten to visit. I have friends in other countries, and that's something that I would have never envisioned for myself. And so, it's fun from that standpoint, but it also is hard because I'm alone a lot. I miss family, functions and, first walks of nieces and nephews. But it's been fun.
What did this program do for you as a player that gave you a platform to play in a professional manner?
I think the biggest thing was exposure. I didn't do anything differently here as a player than I was doing in high school and even at Belmont my first 2 years. It was just the exposure. The teams that we're playing are the best teams in the country now, the top tier teams. So it gave me a chance to really challenge myself as a player against these top players around the nation. And I think that for me was one of the biggest parts of coming here.
Speaking of platforms, the platform that you have as a professional athlete has given you the opportunity to speak out on the empowerment of women. You've embraced that, but you talked about doing it in a loving way, and you've gotten a lot of publicity for that during this WNBA season. Do you see responsibility in that role as a leader of women?
I definitely see a responsibility in it. It was a responsibility that I don't think I was ready for, or at least I thought I was ready for. But with everything in the social climate going on right now in the U.S., it's kind of forced me into being ready for it. And I didn't want to allow a moment where we have the attention that we have on the WNBA as a league and on us as women to pass me by and not speak on things that I know are wrong, or be a voice for change. And so that's something that I'm really proud of about this summer, was the way we stood up for social justice causes, the way we stood up for Black women in this country, and the way that we are planting the seeds for the future. And I touched on it in my speech about, I hope, the way that I communicate the messaging and the things that I'm passionate about, I hope I can communicate them in an educational and loving way, but in a way that's factual, that people will listen. And who I am at the end of the day is somebody who I want to love on others and I want to spread love. And, you know, even when it's a tough conversation like racial injustice or, you know, gender equality, I want to do it in a way that's loving and that can reach a multitude of people. So that's something that I'm really proud of, and that's probably one of my proudest roles as an athlete, is just being a voice.
You know, I started this by telling you what a fan I was of you as a player. I'm an even bigger fan of you as a friend, and it means so much to when I see you, you know, taking such an integral role. It's what is the post-basketball life for Alicia going to be? Is it going to be chef, model, broadcaster, coach? Well, am I hitting any of the topics?
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I know my degree was in broadcast journalism, so maybe something along those lines as well. But I definitely love food. I love what food, you know, stands for in terms of bringing people together. It's your way of showing love, and you know, it's the same thing with sports. Like, sports brings people together, and that's what food does. So maybe, I mean, I don't know what, maybe it'll be, you know, a private chef. Maybe it'll be, you know, a cooking show. I don't know yet.
I think maybe a cooking show with maybe somebody that you know talking about, then we talk sports.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great spin on it. I don't think there's anything like that now.
There you go, exactly. Well, I will leave you with one thing, and I had several people over when they saw that you and I were friends or whatever. They said, "Well, what's Alicia Clark like?" And I said, "She's too good to be true."
Oh, sure.
And it is, in your home, Hall of Famer. Our next inductee is Kendall Newson. He's one of the all-time greats in Blue Raider receiving history. He made his mark on the Blue Raider football team as it was breaking into Division 1A football. Upon completion of his playing career, Kendall ranked number 1 in career receptions with 238, number 1 in career receiving yards with over 3,700, number 1 in consecutive games with a catch, 43, and number 2 for career touchdown receptions with 21. Kendall was the Blue Raiders' go-to receiver in the team's first 2 seasons of the FBS era, leading Middle Tennessee to winning seasons in 2000 and 2001. His outstanding efforts and leadership also helped lead the Blue Raiders to the 2001 Sun Belt Conference Championship, the program's first title as an FBS member. Kendall was a first-team All-Sun Belt selection in 2001. He was selected first-team All-Independent in 2000. And Kendall was selected to play in the Hula Bowl All-Star Game in 2002, which showcased the talents of some of college football's best athletes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 161st member of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame, Kendall Newson.
Well, I'm finally here. Well, MTSU means a great deal to me, as all you guys know by now. I like to start off by telling you a story, but most important, just giving thanks to some people that is here right now. First of all, I'd like to give thanks to God, who helped me along my journey here at MTSU. I would like to give thanks to my dad, Lewis Newson, my mom, Lunell Newson, and my wife, Tiffany Newson. My dad, first of all, installed in me a long time ago to work hard, to always be persistent and go after my dreams and go after my goals for the things that I wanted to accomplish in life. He did not only just tell me that, he showed me that by going to work every day, working at the post office, taking care of me and my other 7 brothers and sisters and other cousins and nephews that my mom took in that would cook those good cornbread meals and macaroni and cheese and collard greens that made me strong and tough to get to through school. To my wife, she's always had my back. She's always with me. She's traveling up and down the world. God is really going to bless you for dealing with me. I know that. And just to the president of this school, Middle Tennessee State, Chip, all the guys that's here today that have just, been there for me, just always, when I looked up, I see Jim and think about the days that, we were on the road and we had coming through those times of D1, going into D1, just coming to MTSU and realizing that, this school has never played D1 ball. When we go on that field, that practice field, I remember telling the guys that, hey, whatever we build here right now, it's going to be for the future guys that are coming, that are going to, take this on from us. So we wanted to live a good legacy here and make sure that, MTSU football was heard across the nation. I believe now it is. I believe now the Blue Raider Nation is heard all across the globe right now, and it started from that one team of D1 ball going into the Sun Belt. And that was my dream of coming here when I first came on the campus and went through the dorms, went through Corlew, eating Corlew food, the pizza that we had every day. And with Boost Dunley, when I first got here with Boost Dunley, I understood then that he was a no-nonsense coach, very discipline-oriented. He wanted to win. He cared about his players. He cared about the team. He cared about Blue Raiders. He cared about Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. He cared about it. And it showed us that we had a coach that really cared about us, and we wanted to play hard for Coach Dunley. And that was my freshman year here. So I think I was really blessed to have a coach like Coach Dunley that gave me that solid ground foundation to work from as a Blue Raider athlete. Moving on to Coach Mack. Coach Mack, when he came, Coach Mack was just a lot of joy to play with Coach Mack, a lot of fun. He let us be us. He let us play. And we went out, we won a lot of games. And we competed hard. And once again, we still had that discipline. We had that determination. And every fight we went into, we knew we was going to win it, with Andy Mack and the coaching staff. I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for Coach Floyd Walker that came to my high school every practice in the spring, every practice in the summer. And when I would see Coach Floyd Walker walk through my high school stadium, high school field, it just made me want to play more, made me want to learn my craft more. When the University of Georgia came knocking at my door at the signing day, and MTSU is sitting there, University of Georgia, Middle Tennessee, which school do you go to? I chose Middle Tennessee State because Middle Tennessee State wanted me. Middle Tennessee State wanted me to come and play for them, and that meant the world to me. And as I stand here today as a Hall of Fame football player for Middle Tennessee, that was one of the best decisions I've made in my life, to come to MTSU and play football here and to leave a legacy here the way I had the opportunity to leave the legacy here. I maybe not have got that opportunity at Georgia or any other school, but this was the best school for me. Coach, my high school coach, Ron Seabreeze, and like I said, he's a protege of Coach Boost Dunley. My high school coach, he taught me how to be tough. He taught us how to win. And I give the world to my high school coach because without him, I really wouldn't have that foundation. I don't know if most people know, but Coach Dunley coached my high school coach. So I had a real grit of toughness coming here to Middle Tennessee State. I want to talk about the players that I played with, my teammates. As I stand here today, I see all of them. I see every practice. I see every ball I caught. I see every bad time. I see every rainy day. I see every cold day. I see the defeats. The one thing I would tell my teammates is we did not give up on each other then, and we're still not giving up on each other today. Those days were so I got so much joy from those days. I could not be standing here today without a Wes Counts, without a DeJuan Hitz, without a Tyrone Calico, without a Barry Hall. it's a lot of guys. If I forget their names, I'm sorry, but it's a lot of guys that I would not be here today if I didn't have teammates like that cared enough about workouts and blue done. You know, who wants to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning with nothing in your stomach and come and run blue done, you know, and have to go through it with guys. Those guys hung with me in the balance of everything. It's so many stories that I can tell about the teammates and the players here at MTSU before I was here and when I was here. You know, it was the guys that was here before me that got me here. You know, Salacio Stanford. The list can go on and on of guys. I'm trying not to say a lot of names and don't remember a lot of names, but I just say it like this. The MTSU Blue Raider athletic family in football, all I can speak about is the football family. We are a tight niche of guys. We love each other. We care about each other. And when it was time to go and play that game, we was all locked in. You know, I remember one of our biggest games that we had when we went and we played Vanderbilt. No one gave us a chance to beat Vanderbilt, but we knew. We knew that we were going to walk into Vanderbilt and beat them. Not just beat them, we was trying to whoop them, you know. We was trying to knock their head off. Y'all know how football is. I'm very aggressive. I tell my wife all the time, I say, baby, I'm getting old. I don't have nothing to do with all this aggression. I go and catch fish all day, but I can't really beat these fish up, you know. So I have a lot of aggression that I think about those days when we was hitting pads and doing things. But I love my guys. I wish we was playing today. I wish we didn't get old. I wish we didn't get gray hair, but we do. Like I said, I still remember the practices where Coach Dunley or Coach Mack, any one of the coaches ran the dog crap out of us because we didn't do something right, and we needed it. You know, and I think that laid the foundation for what these guys are going through now at MTSU. You know, as I think about the weight room has changed, the locker room has changed, the practice field has changed, coaches has changed. But one thing about Blue Raider football that's never going to change is we're going to play hard, we're going to play tough, and we're going to play full-quarter football. And we're going to be disciplined. We're going to play quick, and we're going to play smart. We're going to outsmart the other guy. We're going to take care of our guy. We're not going to lay on the field. We're going to get up. If we get hurt, one thing Coach Dunley always said, if you get knocked out, your teeth out, if your leg is broke, get off my field. I remember that to this day. I would say, you know, Coach Steve Bird was the coach that pulled me to the side and said, you know what, kid? You can make it to the NFL. You got the juice. You got the sauce. He played in the NFL 5 years, and he told me. So I made up my mind to walk through that gate of practice. One day, I think I was a sophomore. I made it up in my mind to walk through that gate. No matter what my grades looked like, no matter what girl was trying to talk to me, no matter if I didn't have a car, nothing to eat, I made it up in my mind to go to practice and make that the best day of my life, to make that the best 3 to 4 hours of my life. And when I made that decision, everything started to get clear. Every ball that was thrown to me, every route that I was running, motivating my teammates, keeping them out of trouble, them keeping me out of trouble, we standing together and just becoming the leader that I am today, that's standing before you, a Hall of Fame football player at MTSU. That's a dream come true. I always said I wanted to make a Hall of Fame. My days got cut short at the NFL due to a Achilles injury and a knee injury. So I didn't get a chance to make Hall of Fame there, but that was my dream. My dream came real today as I'm standing here today. And I tell every kid that I take fishing, or father or mother that I take fishing, that you can't stop doing the work. If you stop doing the work, then you make every non-believer true. If you stop working hard, if you stop going hard, then all the haters and the naysayers that are saying you're never going to accomplish it, you are making them true. So don't stop the work. Keep going. I know coronavirus have all of us in and just separating from each other, and we really can't get together like we want to. But it's one thing that I love about Blue Raider Nation is that when the obstacles come, we rise above it. And we know exactly how to bring each other together and exactly how to win. This is what this is about, winning championships. Everybody say winning is not everything. Winning championships is what we want to do here at MTSU. Don't put on the helmet. Don't strap up the chin strap. Don't put your shoes on and go on the field if you don't want to win championships. See, that's what we were all about. We understood that the stakes were high. We understood that we were D1 ball, first time. We wanted to win. No one was giving us a shot. But all our family-oriented guys, coaches staff, the medical team. Hey, Rob Rogers in the weight room. What's the big guy name? I forget his name. He gonna beat me up. Matt Riley, yeah. Matt Riley, you know. We had a close group of guys here that loved on each other. If I could say anything and wrap this up, I would just say that my decision to come to MTSU was a gut-wrenching decision. And I can remember as a 17-year-old, 16-year-old boy in high school saying, this school want me, they right down the road. This school want me, they way up the road. But this coach has been at every practice for the last 2 months. I'm going to MTSU. When I got here, I met all these wonderful people here that's here today. And it brings me great joy to be able to have the career that I had. You know, some people know I never dropped the ball some weeks at practice. Some people tell you I never dropped the ball the whole time I was here. You know, I can remember games I played with my cast on. I can remember the New Mexico State game when everybody was leaving out the stadium and they thought we lost, and we ended up winning that game. I can remember going to LSU, fighting hard, losing, getting everybody back together. I can remember going to Texas, North Texas. I hate that school. I hate to say I hate that school, but I don't like that school at all. I wish we could redo it. Yeah, the punt. So just a lot of great things happen from moving this school from D1, from where we were at D2 to D1. A lot of great things happened. A lot of different people saw the new way of the MTSU Blue Raider Nation and where it would go. And I'm telling you, I'm standing here now understanding that I played a big role in transitioning this school to that monument to where we at now. And going further, going way past, you know, where a lot of people don't understand or don't know right now. And I'm just overwhelmingly thankful. This school means a lot to me, the people, the family. I will never, ever stop believing in this school, stop wanting this school to do its best, and all the people that's around it. To my teammates again, we right here. 2020 Hall of Fame, Kendall Newson, signing out, and I approve this message.
I want to start here. You mentioned your dad in your speech today and talked about, and I thought about you having to bring it every day at practice. Does that come from Daddy delivering the mail every day?
Yeah, it came from that. I would say my dad showed me and my brothers how to be tough and just how to be consistent. I think, you know, my sisters played a good role in that too. You know, being at home with my sisters, being at home with my brothers. We competed at everything, you know, so if you didn't bring it, you didn't eat, or you got laughed at, or you got joked on. But I think most important when I got here playing football, it was already installed in me from my dad back at home and then my coaches.
How many kids was it? 7?
7.
Well, what about the competition there? Because you talked a lot about collard greens and cornbread today too. There's probably a lot of that growing up.
Oh yeah, we so it's seven brothers and sisters, but I had at least 3 or 4 other cousins that became brothers and sisters as well that my mom and dad took in. So it was a handful of kids, a house full of people competing for food all the time, or just you had somebody to compete in sports with too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You your high school coach, you mentioned how different was, or how similar was his coaching style to when you got here, because he had played for Coach Donnelly.
Yeah, I think the coaching style that my high school coach had was very high energy. If you didn't do it his way, you had to run. He had the guys. We understood that he cared about us. We understood that we had to play, and we had to play tough, and we had to play disciplined. When I got here, it was sort of the same type of coaching style, but a little bit more polished. Yeah. Because it was Coach Donnelly and the years that Coach Donnelly had coached, and plus he had coached my high school coach. Right. So it was just a little bit more polished, and it made us a more afraid to not do what was wrong. We had to do what was right.
In your latter 3 years, you mentioned Steve Bird was your receivers coach. When that staff came in, Larry Fedora was the offensive coordinator, and what they were doing offensively was kind of next level stuff, and that really prepared you to get that chance to play in the NFL.
Yeah, Coach Fedora was a big piece of that. Coach Fedora would come to practice every day and say, finish. You got to finish everything. I think that's when I learned to, take from one of my idols of Jerry Rice and finish every play. Growing up, I always would say, I'm Jerry Rice. But when I got here, I really started putting those things in perspective with Coach Fedora, the offensive plays that he was calling. It got to be tough on the run, but we're going to pass the ball when we have an opportunity to. So, yeah.
You talked about the Vanderbilt game in Nashville, and that was, I'm not sure there's ever been a bigger prove-it game than that one. That was the game. More than half the stadium was in blue that night, and that was the coming out party for Blue Raider football in Division I.
Yes, I think
that was Big Brother up the road.
Yep. That was our in-state rivalry game. It was one of the biggest games that we were going to have that year, being in-state rivalry, and we knew we couldn't lose that game because coming off from the last year, we had some games that we should have won. Like I think it was the Arizona game, or it was another game that we should have won. We let people off the hook. And that game, we knew coming into Vanderbilt that we had prepared. From Blue Dun, we had prepared to beat Vanderbilt. The whole offseason, beat Vanderbilt. Every time we broke down the huddle, beat Vanderbilt. So we had to win that game.
It says a little bit about the skill players on that team that DeJuan's in the Hall of Fame, Wes is in the Hall of Fame, now you're in the Hall of Fame. And you all had a kind of a special relationship and on the same page, and that's why it worked so well, it seemed.
Yeah, it worked good. I think DeJuan is a heck of a football player, heck of a teammate, beast. I would remember blocking, and I was like, well, here come DeJuan, he's gone by me, And then, Wes Counts, Wes Counts is a leader. If we had anybody on that team that was a leader, other than myself and DeJuan, and some other guys on defense, Scotty B. But Wes Count was our leader. He was the quarterback. I remember talking to Wes Counts down here, and I said, hey, man, it's up to me and you. We got to go do this. And Wes was like, all right. But we went out and did it. Wes, to me, Wes stepped in, like we were just talking. Wes stepped in, and when we needed him, Wes stepped up and he did his job.
You're now a professional fisherman.
Yep.
How did that happen?
Well, my dad, again, I would point my finger to my mom and dad. Since a little boy, 5 years old, they always had us out fishing. I was actually fishing before I played football or basketball. So it was one of those things that stuck with me throughout my college career and professional career that I said, once I lay up these cleats, hanging these cleats up, I want to go be a professional bass fishing. And it's kind of just took off from there.
One thing you've done with that, it has been a way to make a living. It's, you know, that kind of thing. The partnerships you have in marketing, but you're giving back to young kids because somewhere along the way somebody gave back to you.
Yes, I love to give back to kids and see them realize that they can do something when they didn't think they could do it, or they wasn't even thinking about it. And you see a kid catch a 10-pound bass or a 5-pound bass, and he just go berserk and he's jumping around. You know, that kid is really experiencing the secrets of fishing. I like to call them the secrets of fishing, just like I like to call the secrets of football. It's certain things that if you've never been on a team, or if you've never coached, if you've never been in the trenches, you never had your finger broke or your thumb broke, and you got to go out there and play not for yourself, but for the team, those are the things inside that you understand are secrets to fishing or football.
Listening to your speech today, it sounded like you might be auditioning for a coaching job somewhere.
Hey.
Motivational speaking. Is that on your radar anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy you picked that up because I'm definitely looking into that. I definitely know I was a great receiver, you know, great teammate. I know the game well, played in the NFL, played with some great guys. Played on Nick Saban's team. I played with Zach Thomas, Junior Seau, rest his soul, Ricky Williams, Zach Thomas, and Jason Taylor. So I played with a lot of guys, and I learned how to be a professional. Football is always going to be a deep, deep passion within inside of me. And when that coaching job come along, I'm going to kick that door in.
Couple last things. Number one, you said that Georgia came in late to try to recruit you. You said it was middle all the way.
It was middle all the way.
Was that a hard decision or an easy decision?
It was a hard decision. It wasn't an easy decision. It was a hard decision because I didn't know any better at the time. You know, I know it my passion, and I know it I had told people and committed and already told people I was coming here. So that's one thing my dad taught me. If you say something, be about it. Don't change your word. But at that moment, it was hard because I didn't know how to decipher those things, being so young.
You, back in July, you got invited to be on a Zoom call. And did you have any idea what was coming that day? And what is that moment that Chris Massaro announced that while you were actually on the call, what has that meant for you, to you from then till now, and from now on?
It's a life-changing moment. It's one of those moments that you praying that happens, or you thought that could happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. And it's a life-changing moment. You know, not to get into too deep with things, but trust me, it's a life-changing moment, yeah.
You've called this home.
Mm-hmm.
Now this Hall of Fame building, that's home. You're a Hall of Famer. Congratulations.
Booyah! Man, you don't know.
Our next inductee is Heather Prater Warren. Heather enjoyed a heralded Lady Raider career and helped lead her team to OVC championships in 1995 and 1996. Heather's the program's all-time assist leader still, with more than 600 helpers. And she's a member of the program's 1,000-point club with 1,360. She ranks first all-time for three-point field goal percentage at 446, and fifth all-time in three-point field goals made with 224. She also is second on the career list for free throw percentage at over 80% for her career. Heather earned the AT&T Long Distance Award as the nation's top three-point shooter in 1994-95 when she blistered the nets to the tune of 51% beyond the arc. She started 113 games in her career and still ranks first and second in the Lady Raider record books for three-point shooting percentage for a single season. Heather was a two-time All-OVC selection. Great to have her back on campus today. Please welcome the 162nd member of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame, Heather Prater Warren.
Thank you. As Alicia said, an event like this leads us to reflect back on how exactly did we end up in this position to begin with. To begin, I want to start by stealing a line from my 8th grade coach and my minister, Coach Kerry Cruz, and tell you that I have been far more blessed than I deserve. I've been so fortunate along the way to have great coaches, excellent teammates at every phase, every level that I've played at. And the fact that I'm standing here today is as much a tribute to them as it is to me. I'd like to first thank my mom and dad for sacrificing so much while I was growing up to make sure that I had the opportunities that helped me to get to where I am. I remember our family having lots of around the world and pony games during my younger years. I was thankful that my dad coached my brother and me in Dixie Youth Baseball. I didn't play as many sports as Alicia, but I did love baseball, so we enjoyed that growing up. And my dad also taught us all kinds of ways to score around the basket, in particular using both of your hands. At the time, I never realized how important that might be later on. I'm thankful that my mom showed me how important it is to work hard for the things that you want. She decided to become an LPN in her early 30s, and that meant going to school from 7 to 3, working at the nursing home from 4 to 9, and then studying late at night, only to do it all again the next day. Yet she rarely missed my games and spent lots of time traveling back and forth to Murfreesboro. I was the first grandchild on both sides of the family, so as you can imagine, my aunts and uncles spoiled me rotten, along with my grandparents. I'm thankful for the time they spent with me. My mom's brothers were very good players on our high school team, and I loved going to the games and getting to watch them play. But probably the thing that was most inspirational to me growing up was around the mid-'80s, when I'm in middle school age, 3 different teams in our county, you know, we're a really small county, were very successful. A K-12 school named Frank Hughes won the state championship in 1986, so my aunt would take me to watch these girls play. I grew up and later became friends with a lot of these ladies, and they didn't know it at the time, but I would often emulate them and practice the moves I would see them make in their games. Collinwood, another county team, won their own state championship in '88, and then my alma mater, Wayne County High School, was just starting to get heated up with 4 state runner-up titles and then eventually state championships in 2001 and 2011. Sometimes things have a cause and effect in your life, and I think seeing all these successful, driven young women playing a game that they love definitely helped to inspire me to become a better player, and especially how serious I began to take the game. As I mentioned earlier, I stayed with my grandparents a lot growing up. The first rim I had at my grandfather's house, he nailed a bicycle rim to his barn, believe it or not, and that's when I started shooting. He eventually replaced that with a real goal that is still hanging to this day. Grandma and Granddaddy have been huge supporters of mine over the years and have made countless trips to see me play, even traveling to SEMO more than once. When I was in 8th grade, something big happened in the game of basketball. We came into our middle school gym one day, and there was a three-point line painted on the court. And it became an obsession, and all of us, you know, could barely get the ball up there, but we were trying our best. By the end of the year, last regular season game, I had attempted 0 3-point shots for the year. My job was point guard and to get the ball where it needed to go. So we had the game well in hand, and I remember my coach sending me back into the game with specific instructions to get me a 3. So I take the shot, top of the key, probably my favorite spot, nothing but net. And as you know, it was over from there. I ended the year making 2 of 4 3-pointers that year. While my mom went to nursing school, I spent a lot of time at my friend Ginger's house, and we played countless games in her backyard. My other friend, Marcia, and I also played many games at City Park, mainly against boys. And we took it seriously. We wanted to beat them. I would also like to thank my brother Daniel for all the countless one-on-one games and for making me better, and also our neighborhood gang who played pickup games at all hours. Something happened at the end of my sophomore year of high school that probably helped dictate what later happened in my basketball career. My high school coach, David Bird, encouraged me to change my shot completely. I was not 100% on board with this change. I was a pretty accurate shooter, although I shot from the hip and my ball did spin sideways. But he said, if you don't change your shot, you're never going to make it to the college level. So with the help of Ginger's dad, Charles Hastings, he helped me adjust my shot. We taped up a basketball so that we could see how it was spinning, and voila. My shot began to improve. The only thing I didn't like was my range decreased. So it was after I reached the college level before I really began to reap the benefits of that change. Chris and I were talking earlier. Passing has always been my first love, and that's why Coach Bivens recruited me. He wanted me to play point guard at MTSU, and the three-point shot was just an added bonus, I think. I'll never forget going to Coach Bird's camp when I was in probably 6th grade and doing a drill called the peripheral passing drill, where you could look one way and pass it another. Well, I was blown away. I wanted to learn how to do that, and I did. One of my future MTSU teammates and also a high school teammate of mine, Amanda Bivens, told me one time that I reminded her of Magic Johnson with my no-look passes, and that was the greatest compliment I could have received at that time. And over the years, Bivens was the Kareem to my Magic. I'd like to thank my high school Lady Cat teammates as well as Coach Bird for always pushing me and not letting me get to anything easy. Coach Bird has been a very influential person in my life. Not only did I play point guard for him, we worked together as principal and counselor while also coaching together and winning the 2011 state championship with a great group of talented young ladies. I'm proud to come from such a supportive community as Waynesboro and even Wayne County, and I'm so appreciative of all the love and support over the years. I'd never really thought about a college basketball scholarship probably till the end of my junior season. And I don't know if you remember this, Coach Bivens, but a friend of mine, Greg Seitz, introduced us at the state tournament after my junior year. I told him I wasn't coming to MTSU. He was wasting his time. But to please him, if you know Greg, he's very persistent. To please him, I went and met Coach Bivens, and to quote you, the rest, as they say, is history. I knew immediately that day that MTSU was my destiny and that that's where I would play. Janet Ross was one of your assistants then. Janet did most of the recruiting, and we spent countless hours on the phone, and I was 100% sure I had made the right decision. The summer before my freshman year of college, I came during summer camp to work out with senior guard Julie Morrison. She had some energy, and she quickly taught me that if I was going to make it at this level, I was going to have to improve my work ethic as well as the speed and intensity that I practiced at. I said at the beginning that I had been blessed far more than I deserved. Getting paired with Julie Joslin as a roommate my freshman year had a huge and lasting impact on me, as we are still great friends to this day. Julie was a great example of a hard worker in her own right and was promoted to student assistant by her senior year. I've probably never told her, but I've always admired her and her dedication, and she's a big reason I enjoyed college so much and was successful. When college play started, I struggled adapting to the pace of the game and having someone guarding me so closely all the time. And I was fortunate that one of our starting spots became open due to an injury right before the start of the season. Otherwise, I never would have started those first few games. However, I used that time to my advantage and improved my play, and Coach Bivens let me keep starting out. So thank you, Coach. As I said, I was struggling, and I'm surprised that my teammates didn't start calling me Ned the Primer, since that's usually what Coach Bivens called me every halftime. As Coach C, who's here today, knew I was struggling, she came to my hotel room on a road trip and basically taught me to let it all go in one ear and out the other, and that helped me deal with so much frustration that came that freshman year. My first 2 years, we were very much a pounded inside team and were led by OVC Player of the Year Priscilla Robinson, also a Hall of Famer who scored over 2,000 points in her career. She was joined by Michelle Jackson down low, and those two finished off a ton of assists. We posted a 21-7 record both of my first 2 years. Coach Stephanie Smith joined us that year, and she brought a defensive-minded approach, signed several key recruits. My junior year, we totally switched up our game plan, used our three-point shooting as a weapon. We ended up leading the country in several three-point statistical categories. Our only senior was Sherry Tucker, and she averaged over 20 points per game that year. She, along with Jessica Beatty, Trella Thomas, Natalie Sneed, Julie Eve, Kara Hobbs, and many others, were so fun to drive and kick to. Coach Altherius warmly joined our team that year, and we all loved her and her positive attitude. She's the easiest person in the world to talk to. We finished the year 19-9. The summer before my senior year, I chose not to work and instead spent a lot more time in the gym. My friend Ginger and I were religious with our Steve Alford workout. I was excited about the upcoming season with my high school teammate Bivens joining us, along with heralded freshman Jonelda Buck, Carletta Elder, Courtney Neely, and we had Kim Francis with us. We had competitive practices, and everyone was hungry for an outright OVC championship and NCAA tournament berth. We were rolling along at 17-1 when Jessica Beatty was injured. Jessica was the heart and soul of that team, and while you're playing, you don't really appreciate the little things about people that you should, but Jessica was one of those people that was irreplaceable. We did win the OVC season title, lost in the tourney finals to AP, but we did receive the OVC's first at-large bid and got to go play at the University of Kansas. It was a great way to end my career, and we finished that season 24-6. I was thankful also for Nikki Edwards and Mel Patchen. They set multiple picks for me along with our other shooters that helped us succeed along the way. I was fortunate to have played in all those games Chip mentioned, mainly because I was able to escape any serious injuries, and that helps your stats. We were blessed with great media coverage here. I don't want to get into naming names. I know I'm going to leave somebody out, but they made sure that we received the recognition we deserved and more. Our awesome sports information director, Jim Horton, traveled to all our games and took care of us on the statistical side of things. We had the best trainers, strength coaches, academic advisors, radio crew, the incomparable Chip Walters. It's safe to say that Middle Tennessee State University changed my life, not only athletically, but also academically. I loved all the faculty and staff, and I was able to receive a college degree debt-free. And I've been working in a field that I love for the last 24 years. And just like in basketball, I have been blessed in the workplace as well to have worked with some amazing teachers and colleagues, including my current team at Wayne County Technology Center. Coach Bivens, I really don't know where to begin. I have so much respect and admiration for you both as a coach and a person. You're the most selfless, thoughtful person who treats others like you want to be treated. I could never thank you enough for believing in me and for pushing me to get every ounce of ability possible out of me, even if it meant telling me things I didn't want to hear. You probably don't remember this, but one halftime when I was getting my normal chewing, I'd been a little sick leading up to the game, and I was kind of hunkered over in the corner, and you looked at me and you said, "Prater, if you'd quit feeling sorry for yourself, we'd all be a lot better off." Well, you know what? I needed to hear that, and that has served me well in my life. You also did something where you brought in guest speakers to talk to us, and I don't think I quite appreciated it at the time. But as I grew older, those were needed conversations, so thank you for setting those up. You were and are such an inspiration to so many, and I hope you know this award would not have been possible without you and our other coaches, as well as my talented teammates. And as you so often reminded me, I was not the most athletically gifted, but because I had teammates able to knock down shots and who worked like crazy, setting flare screens to get me open threes, you put me in a position to help me utilize the talents I had been given in order for our team to succeed. So thank you. I love you and appreciate you so much. Lastly, I would like to thank my husband and daughter, and also my in-laws and my step-parents who have been so supportive over the years. Jaylee, you've inherited a lot of my traits, whether those are good or bad. And your dad and I are so proud of you and all of your hard work to achieve your goals, and we can't wait to see what your future holds. Lynn, you've lived through it all, and you know me better than anybody. None of this would be possible without your endless support and countless hours of rebounding over the years. Thank you both for being my #1 fans. In closing, I'm so proud of the MTSU Lady Raider program, Coach Insel and staff, both where it's been and where it's going. And what an inspiration to so many little girls everywhere to have fellow Hall of Fame inductee Alicia Clark just win her second WNBA championship a few days ago. Thank you to the Hall of Fame committee for your support and for honoring me with this prestigious award. I am truly humbled to be recognized in such great company and can say without a doubt that choosing Middle Tennessee State was one of the greatest decisions of my life. Thank you.
Back in July, we had a Zoom call. Do you have any idea what was coming that day? Did we trick you?
Yeah, it's been a long time, as I said on the call, that I had been back to campus, been involved in anything. So, I was excited to be on the call.
And then it happened. You found out you were going to be a Hall of Famer here. It was neat to get to see your reaction, and it looked like it hit you hard. In a good way.
Yeah, of course, in a good way. It's definitely something I never expected. As I said in my speech, if it hadn't have been for all the coaches and teammates I had, I was not the kind of player to get this kind of award on my own. Yeah. So I was definitely blessed along the way.
I thought it was great that you thanked people who set picks for you, because never heard that before. Your teammates, the value of a teammate is something that's very, very important to you, and the value of being a good teammate seems like something that's very important to you. That goes back a long way. That's how you got started, right?
Yes. As I said, in middle school, Coach Carrie Cruz coached us to an undefeated season, and all the girls that were my age were ultra competitive. And when we got to high school, it was normal for freshmen to sit the bench, and we all received quite a bit of playing time, and that was a huge benefit in being able to make it to this level.
It's always been curious when you talk about girls basketball in Tennessee, and in particular in rural communities, what a big deal it is, and how players like yourself, Jonelda, Bivens, all those, they come from programs and to where it is a big deal. Do you think there's something, I don't know, it's not something in the water, but do you think that drives a lot of the young ladies in the rural communities in the mid-state?
Yes, absolutely, and not to give a nod to like Friday Night Lights or, a TV show, but, it really is like that. If you go anywhere in town and they know you're a part of the Lady Cat basketball team, they're going to ask you who your next opponent is, what's state tournament looking like, and you take it very seriously.
And when you got to college playing at middle, it had a similar type feel to it, because not everywhere you guys went to play on the road it felt like that, but when you came here, you had good crowds, very supportive, and that made for a great home court advantage.
Absolutely. I loved playing in Murphy Center, and I really should have addressed Murphy Center in my speech. Playing here in the state tournament for 4 years, there was no doubt it was one of the greatest facilities ever to play a game at. And then when you add your voice, you add the band, All those fans, it's just a culmination of a great atmosphere for a college ball game.
What does Lewis Bivens mean to you?
Oh, goodness. You saw me about
you cry.
You saw me about losing during that speech, didn't you?
Yeah.
He's just one of those people that don't come along very often, Chip. He really was the kind of coach that everybody dreamed about having. He praised you when you needed it. He got on your tail when you needed it. But he got the best out of us.
You mentioned the other assistants. Boy, I forgot about who all had came through here with Al and Stephanie and all that. You had great coaching in college.
Yes, it made the playing experience so much more enjoyable.
You had great, as you talked about too, you had great coaching in high school. What has been the most satisfying to you? What the game has given you, or what you have been able to give back to the game and to young ladies?
Oh, I have taken far more than I've given. The game of basketball is so much more than just basketball. Those relationships that you form, just the things you do in your daily life that you learn through being part of a team, they all, in one way or another, help you to be the person that you end up being.
And one last thing. You talked about Murphy Center, but this campus set you on a course for your life. And what does it mean to be back on campus and call this home?
It's always a special feeling to come back. Jim and Chris were talking to me before. I was a high school counselor for several years and would bring students here to tour the campus, and I could never believe the growth and how it had changed. But very few of them knew that I even played basketball here. So this will come as a shock to a lot of my former students.
Well, it'll get passed around on social media in Wayne County, I'm sure. Heather, congratulations. Clay Snellgrove is one of Blue Raider baseball's top hitters and defensive specialists, and put up strong numbers that still rank among the best in program history during his 4-year career from 1994 to 1997. At the completion of his playing career, Clay ranked number 1 on the all-time list in 6 different categories: games played, hits, at-bats, singles, doubles, and sacrifices, while also ranking in the top 5 for RBIs and total bases. He played during one of Middle Tennessee's great runs on the diamond, winning the Ohio Valley Conference regular season each year from 1994 to 97. The Blue Raiders played in the 95 NCAA Regional, and not only was Clay an exceptional hitter, but he was also an outstanding shortstop in a run of great shortstops at Middle Tennessee. Coaches touted Clay as the best Blue Raider shortstop in that long line. And following his career, Clay was drafted by the San Diego Padres. It's glad to have him back on campus today. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 163rd member of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame, Clay Snellgrove.
Well, I think anybody that knows Blue Raider baseball knows that Bryce and I had completely different styles of play, and I guess our words will be a little different because I wrote mine down. Bryce, good to be here with you, man. I appreciated those words. I want to thank Dr. McPhee and Chris Massaro. This honor is so special because they continue to keep this university thriving and this athletic department producing remarkable athletes year after year. Thank you to Chip Walters. Your passion for MTSU sports is appreciated. And Tony Stennett, you are always a champion for MTSU alumni. I appreciate you. To my fellow inductees, congratulations and thank you, because this honor means so much more to be recognized beside such an amazing group of athletes. When I was a boy, I watched the Atlanta Braves play on TV, and I dreamed of one day playing Major League Baseball just like Dale Murphy. I had an active imagination, so I dreamed of playing in the NFL, the NBA, joining the U.S. Olympic team, and a variety of events. But as I grew, or more accurately didn't grow, baseball became the best fit for my small stature and my delayed adolescence. And the game's cerebral nature piqued my creative mind. My odds of attaining those major league dreams went from 1 in a million as a wide-eyed 12-year-old to about 1 in 100 after I came to MTSU to play for Coach Steve Peterson, and then to about 1 in 20 when I was drafted by the San Diego Padres in '97. Sadly, I ended my playing career 6 years later, having failed to play in a major league game. Objectively, one can't in good conscience call my baseball career a failure, but over the years, as I shared with others the crazy, exciting, scintillating experiences that were my baseball journey, there was that shadow in my gut of just not quite making it. The shadow made all the stories I shared sour a little bit on the tongue. But in July, I received the news that I'd been inducted to the Middle Tennessee Blue Raider Hall of Fame. And that news was like a light that shone through me and melted away any of those shadows. My induction highlights my improbable path to MTSU and validates the hard work and success of the championship teams I was fortunate enough to be a part of. This honor is extra special because I get to share it with the love of my life, my wife, Erin. She is an amazing athlete that understands all too well the hard work required to succeed on the field and to win championships, and the sometimes finicky nature of recognition. I'm so pleased to have her here. My two boys, Canton and Cooper, I just hope that they find a pursuit that energizes and excites them in the same way baseball has energized and excited me over the years. People probably wonder how I came to be standing here today. How did an undersized kid in Indiana with below average power, strength, and speed garner an offer to play for a renowned Southern baseball program? How, after 4 years playing for MTSU and never really setting the stat sheet on fire, was I considered and now honored to stand on the same stage as fellow inductee Bryce Brentz, the undisputed Babe Ruth of MTSU baseball? The answer to the first question begins with my brother, Chad. He was 3 years older than me. My earliest childhood memories were trailing behind him out into the neighborhood or to his many sports teams' practices. My brother always let me join the older kids in their games, and he never complained when my sports took away attention from his pursuits. The practice in squaring off against bigger and stronger opponents would be key to my success later on. David Petcha was my childhood friend and neighbor. He and I spent hours, most days, over the course of years, playing catch, shooting hoops, and all things sports. There's no doubt this is where my skills were honed. My parents, Jack and Lana Snellgrove, are amazing people. They taught me hard work and discipline, more by example than anything else. They encouraged me to dream big and made it crystal clear that I had their support with whatever became the focus of my energy. I played my freshman year of high school ball standing only 5 foot and weighing 105 pounds. Despite my efforts to aid nature along, I played my senior season at only a lanky 140 pounds. Using my competitiveness and creativity, I found ways, despite my lack of strength, to be as effective as any player on the field. And though I earned the respect of my coaches and teammates, I was unable to garner any interest from college coaches, much less coaches from a program like MTSU that had produced 2 shortstops before me that would both end up playing in the major leagues. At that point in my life, the chances of me ever standing right here on this stage were 0. But that all changed when Steve Zitney moved to my hometown of Lafayette, Indiana. Steve had played at MTSU and knew Coach Pete. I played alongside Steve's son, and at one point he asked me where I would play college baseball. After hearing I had few prospects, Steve called Coach Pete, telling him, quote, "Clay would be easy to miss if you only watched 1 or 2 of his games. It's after seeing him play 50 games that you realize he's the best player on the field," unquote. I'm forever grateful for Steve Zitney's phone call and strong recommendation that made my career at MTSU possible. He has become a good friend and continues to take an interest in my life and support me today. It's with a heavy heart that I remember Coach Steve Peterson. In my 4 years playing for him here at MTSU, he would have liked to be here today, and he's dearly missed. Coach Pete expected my best effort, and I gave it to him. Both he and Coach Jim McGuire gave me the cues and the instruction to keep me sharp and always improving. And together we focused on winning championships, taking 3 in a row at the end of my time here. And that brings me to how I ended up on this stage today, being inducted into this Hall of Fame. Each year I shared the lineup with monster hitters. Freshman year it was Mudcat Brewer, Jamie Hicks, and Chris Price. Sophomore year, Jamie Walker was our most feared hitter. Junior year, Doug Barner hit a bunch of home runs, always when we needed them. In my senior season, Andrew Thompson rarely made an out. During my 4 years as MTSU starting shortstop, I shared the middle infield with several highly skilled second basemen. Jamie Walker, Scott Harrelson, Shane Shoemake, and John Case. All of these guys helped bring out my best defensive efforts. It's hard to stand out playing with such talented guys, but I ultimately left my footprint on this program in my own unique way. Throughout my 4 years at MTSU, I overcame my lack of size, strength, and power to help the team win. Through consistent focus, constant energy, I was able to collect a record number of hits, but my most impressive accomplishments are not those listed on the back of a baseball card. Being in the right position to defend familiar hitters, making routine plays in the biggest moments, highlight reel plays any moment, moving runners, laying down bunts against the best pitchers, never making mental mistakes, wanting the ball on my glove, wanting the bat in my hand when the game was on the line, and executing, finding and fitting into the team unit as effectively as possible to ensure we came out on top. These are the reasons I'm here today. I will forever be grateful to MTSU, Coach Pete, Coach McGuire, and all my teammates for giving me an amazing 4 years at MTSU. This enormous honor of being inducted into the Blue Raider Hall of Fame is one that I hope shines a light on the championship teams for which I played and all of my talented teammates that made me better. Baseball is a special sport. I will eagerly buy tickets and tune in to watch for the next Babe Ruth, for the next Bryce Brentz. I will marvel at their work ethic, their discipline, their talent, and of course the monster home runs and the 95-mile-per-hour fastballs. But I also hope those late bloomers and undersized athletes coming up now and in the future might look at my career and this induction and understand there is a path for any player to be great. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's flash back to July, and you got asked to be on a Zoom call. Do you have any idea what was coming that day?
I didn't. I didn't have any idea that was coming. You know, for years, people, I sort of found out, you know, post-career what the Hall of Fame's about. Playing, I didn't even know that existed. You know, you're just so locked in on your game, and so yeah, a couple years after, some friends were inducted, and yeah, it was sort of, you know, I saw Mudcat Brewer go in, and my buddy Dave McNamara, Jennifer Martinez, you know, really good athletes, and you start sort of thinking about your career, and I thought, you know, I had a great career here, you know, but was it the kind of career that deserved a Hall of Fame? I don't know. So I wasn't expecting it. It was definitely, yeah, highlight of my summer for sure.
Your speech really kind of highlighted how the Blue Raider Nation or the family has a lot of tentacles out there, because if it weren't for a player from the 70s, you wouldn't have been here in the 90s.
Yeah, and Steve Zitney, you know, I've heard stories. He was a heck of a player, played with a lot of energy, and he got married his senior year at MTSU, and I think Coach Steve Peterson was the grad assistant, and he was married, so they sort of they were about the same age and really hit it off. So when Steve called Coach Pete, I think having that history was the difference, you know. Coach McGuire, I think 2 days later, drove up just to see a Tuesday night game after that phone call. So he just wanted to check out, make sure the reference was good, and then offered me a little money to come play. And that was really, man, if that hadn't happened, shoot, none of this, you know.
Yep. The OVC in the 90s, that was a good league.
Yeah.
And the non-conference schedule on top of that you guys played was top notch.
Yeah, we were, you know, we always felt like we were fighting for a little respect, because we would go up against Tennessee, Alabama's, Auburn's, and you know, we took a few games from those highly rated opponents, and then the OVC, there was a culture when I came here of winning. They had won a lot of conference titles, and if they didn't win it outright in the season, they would get it done in the tournament. And so when I laced it up my freshman year, we were just expected to win. And I think my career, you know, was benefited from that just feeling of dominance, that confidence, you know, and that winning culture, because I was like, hey, I'm here. 2 major league shortstops came before me. I'm validated. I'm going to go out and do my thing. I'm as good as anybody, you know. And looking at it, people just said, you know, yeah, you're too small, you're not fast, you don't have a good arm, you're not going to hit a homer, you know. There was every reason I shouldn't be good, but in my mind, Coach Pete, Coach McGuire, like, I was as good as anybody out there, you know, and so I played like it.
You talked about those 2 shortstops when you come after Eddie Pye and Jason Maxwell. Was there pressure on you, or to continue that tradition of being that good at that position?
You know, I mentioned it in my remarks that, you know, I wanted to play professional baseball. You know, I wanted to play Major League Baseball, and the only way I could figure to do it was go south to a big program. And you know, to me, if a program had put some people into pro ball, that's where I wanted to be. So yeah, I wasn't thinking about following them, and I just thought, I got signed there. As soon as Jason Maxwell signed as a junior and didn't return, I was like, okay, that's my spot now. And I'm like, I'm on my way to the pros. Like, what do I got to do? You know, I got to, you know, and yeah, so just every time I got up, every play I had, every practice, man, I just got after it. And I didn't even think about stacking up to them, you know. I know I had a nice compliment by Coach Peterson. Brad Howard was a freshman All-American pitcher, and he threw a no-hitter. And I think it was Tennessee Tech. The last play of the game was a tough 3-hopper in the hole. And man, it was dicey. But I picked it and snapped through over there, got the guy, and we all celebrated with him. It was a great accomplishment. But I remember Coach Pete later that afternoon said, you know, he's like, that ball got hit I had no question that game was over. He said, everybody else I've coached before, we would have held our breaths and said, I hope they make that play, you know. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I must be doing something right. I'm going to keep it going, you know.
One facet of your life that I find very interesting, not only have you read a book, you have written books now. And so how have you enjoyed that part?
Yeah, you know, the reading for pleasure came about on the buses in pro ball. You know, I love video games, movies as much as the next guy, but when you play 140 games, 150 days, you're in hotels, like you play all the games, you see all the movies, and so yeah, I just picked up some supermarket fiction, loved it. And then when my playing career ended, you know, it's like I always had that big dream to drive me, play in the major leagues. And, you know, when that didn't happen, it's like just my impulse was to look for another impossible dream, you know, and I'm like, hey, the next John Grisham, you know, instead of Dale Murphy. Yeah. And I don't know, it was something that after my playing days, it gave me something to put my energy and passion into when baseball was no longer the option.
Is there another book in you?
There is. I've gotten my Master's of Fine Arts, and I just recently finished one that I hope to see published soon. So, and it's geared toward to a young adult audience, and those are the kind of people that I see every day at my baseball and softball academy. So I'm hoping I can get it published for them to read, you know. Well,
you've been writing fiction. I think there's a biography that you need to write, and I think you know who it needs to be about. And I think you're the guy to do it.
Yeah, well, I would love to take on that project. And, you know, anytime you can write about someone that's had a meaningful impact on not just yourself, but a large community of people, putting it down into like a permanent record always feels good, can be sort of a tribute. And so, yeah, I'd love to write one about Coach Pete, you know, and let everybody know about who he was that didn't get to know him like I did.
You go in with Bryce, you guys played pro ball all over the place, but you both ended up back here. What does it mean to go in with, as you called him, the Babe Ruth of Blue Raider baseball, and what would Pete be saying today, seeing you both go in together?
Yeah, I think Coach Pete would appreciate the fact that he was able to coach two completely different players, but allow them to have similar success, which was championships, wins, and yeah, just standing up there with Bryce, you know, Bryce is, you know, he's a no-doubter. Like, you know, everybody knew who Bryce was, you know, and I think the first time I'd heard about him, I said, I got to go over and see this kid play. I walked in and I saw him get jammed just a little bit, but he hit it out to right center field, you know, and you're just like, man, that guy's electric, you know. So yeah, just so pleased that I'm honored and honored with him, because you know, we were two different players, but man, we both had a passion for the game and found, you know, how to succeed best with the talents we were given.
Well, you're right where you belong, so congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Our next inductee is Mike Harmon. Mike spent 3 years in the Blue Raider men's golf starting lineup, helping lead his team to second-place finishes in the Ohio Valley Conference in 1976 and 1977. Harmon is the only Blue Raider to play on the PGA Tour on a full-time basis, earning his card in 1980. He earned over 20 victories with PGA sections. Mike is a member of the St. Andrews Golf Club in St. Andrews, Scotland. Mike was in the inaugural class of the Low Country Golf Hall of Fame in 2015 and was also inducted into the Carolinas PGA Hall of Fame in 2019. He has been a National PGA finalist for Professional of the Year 3 times, those coming in 2008, 2009, and 2012. And Mike has spent the last 33 years as Director of Golf at the Secession Golf Club in Beaufort, South Carolina. His family supports 6 missionary ministries worldwide on a monthly basis. Ladies and gentlemen, the 164th member of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame, please welcome Mike Harmon. Congratulations. Yes, sir, you do.
Well, What a magnificent honor it is to be here. I spent a lot of time here, more or less grooming a game that wasn't quite ready for college golf yet, but eventually got much better as I got to the tour. And this is just an incredible honor to be here on such a beautiful day as well. A lot of people to thank. First, it's first and foremost, as a man of faith, thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for just giving me the peace and the grace and the mercy and wisdom to live each day. I don't know what I would have done without him in my life. I want to thank AD Chris Macero. Thank you for this magnificent honor. To the Hall of Fame committee, thank you. To Tony Stennett, who's done a spectacular job in coordinating all of this amongst the COVID virus. Well done, Tony. And to Jim Simpson, a dear friend. We go way back to my earliest days here, and now the director of the varsity club, or just stepped down, I guess. And congratulations on just a spectacular career. I would quickly like to thank three very important people here in Murfreesboro. My dear friend Patty Ryan, who's with me here today, like a brother from another mother, and we've spent a lot of time together. The mayor, Shane McFarland, who has who stepped in and worked for the old pro on this one, I know, and Coach Whit Turnbow, who was very instrumental in turning this program around in the golf program several years ago. And I know he's been an advocate for me as well, and I just want to thank those three wonderful guys. I'm so blessed to have such an extraordinary family around me. My wife, Linda, of over 40 years, has been by my side all the way, and I couldn't thank her enough. Our beautiful daughter, Joanna, they have just been spectacular in their support of not only my professional playing career, but my club career as well. Golf's a very difficult business, and I could not have done it without them. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys. Wonderful parents. My mom at 86 is still a firecracker. God bless her. My dad passed away 6 years ago. I'd have loved for him to have been here, a world-class athlete himself. And I miss him every day. But no man could have a finer set of parents. And wonderful sisters, three sisters. My in-laws, Ben and Joe Camp out of Atlanta, just spectacular. So much support for me through the years. And a dear, dear friend, like a father to me, my golf instructor from Atlanta, Mr. Jim Gunter, who brought me under his wing early on. And I have not only my game to thank to him, but also my degree here. In my after my fourth year of eligibility, I was at his driving range, and he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I think I need to turn professional. And he said, what about college? What about your degree? And I said, well, I just don't have the money to go back. I just can't pull that off. My family, we got through my last year, but it's going to be difficult. And he said, you're going back to school. And he picked up the bill, along with my parents, obviously, and I have my degree in history from Middle Tennessee because of that man. Pro, I love you. Thanks so much. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Dr. E.K. Patty for just, he was such a kind man to me as a coach. He taught me how to live a life, a gentleman's life, such a sweet spirit, and I'm just thrilled and honored to be in this hall with him today. And I know he's looking down, so thank you, Dr. Patty. You were more of an inspiration than you will ever know. Certainly want to thank all of my teammates that I enjoyed so much being around. We traveled the world together. Many are still dear friends. My old friend Bill Boykin out of Florida now. We were roommates when we first came here. Just an outstanding individual, and we're still very close. Thank you, Boink. All the other ones, I can think of Bobby Dyke and Emil Vaughn and Andy Olson and Tom Provo. There's just Steve Smyers. I'm probably going to forget a few, and forgive me, boys, but you were terrific, and those friendships have lasted now well over 4 decades. I love you all. Lastly, this was a special place for me. I did not play my best golf here. I went on to play my best golf from here, but this was a building place for me. And not only sports-wise, but educationally-wise. I accomplished what I set out to do, which was to bring home a degree. And accomplishment is, it certainly builds confidence. And I went on from here with the building blocks of this place and so many great friendships to build a huge career, not only a short career on the tour, but a huge career within the community of the PGA and within the upper echelons of golf. And I don't think that would have been possible here. I got multiple awards, multiple Hall of Fames. I played the tour, I played U.S. Opens, I played British Opens. I've done all you could do aside from making a couple of $1 million, I think. And then moved into a career where I got to represent one of the finest clubs in the country for over 30 years, Secession Golf Club in Beaufort, South Carolina. So none of that would have been possible without my time here. And this honor is very special to me, and I can't thank you enough. And this is not one that I will ever forget. Thank you. God bless.
Let's turn back to that day in July when you got asked to be on a Zoom webinar. Did you have any idea what that was going to be all about that day?
No. I didn't know why they called, but I thought it odd, but I enjoyed being there. And then all of a sudden, Chris said, told us the reason we were there was to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I was blown away. Yeah, it was marvelous.
You talk a lot about, you talked about Dr. Patty, and for a lot of folks who have been around here since the 80s, they don't really know Dr. Patty, but for you guys from the 70s and the 60s, his name is revered. And tell me why.
Well, in the golf community, he had a national championship team in the mid-60s, 63, 65, somewhere in there. And we certainly knew the quality of that program. And I had met him a couple of times prior to signing, chatted with him a couple of times, and just loved him, liked him. I liked him. He was a sweet man, a kind man. But he was not easy. He was a tough guy. He played football here. I'm sure he kicked some butt in the 50s and 60s. By the time I got to him, he was in his 60s or so, and he had mellowed a bit. But he was just a gentleman, an absolute Tennessee gentleman.
In your speech, you said you didn't play your best golf here, but it set you up to play your best golf. Absolutely. Take that a little deeper dive.
Well, as I said, as we talked about before the speech, I changed to golf very late. I was 17, 18 years old. Literally, I'd only played a year or two before I went to junior college playing golf in Atlanta. And this is a hard game, the hardest game in the world. And there's a lot to it. I didn't even know the rules. I was an idiot in a lot of ways. And my time here was really more about working on the mechanics. That beautiful field that was over there, which is now the Student Union right up against the East High Rise, was where I spent all of my time. I dug a game out of that piece of land. And as I was telling Patty Ryan, my dear friend here today, we'd hit balls. We'd hit our own shag balls. It's not a driving range where you got people bringing you balls. You had to go pick them up. And so you drop the bag into a middle of a 30-yard circumference area, hopefully smaller, and you drop your bag and you chip to them. Well, I went on to have an extraordinary short game. And I always drove the ball well, and I chipped the ball well. And I credit that short game solely to just chipping balls to the bag, where after a while you get bored, so you're trying creative stuff. And there's no question that it developed the short game that's still there today. I still have an incredible short game. Now 66 years old, I still play right around par. I still play in a lot of senior events and still get to qualify for some beautiful stuff. I qualified in the British Senior a couple of years back at Carnoustie. That game was born out of that field. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Who knew that cow pasture past Cummings Hall had value? You know,
Had value for me. It had value, and it was just it was right outside the athletic dorm where we stayed. So it was just a 100-yard walk to all the balls I wanted to beat. And so yes, but not just that, the competition. You know, we were playing against the best, because of the reputation of the school, we were playing against the Alabamas and the Floridas, and I got to butt heads with the Andy Beans and the Gary Kochs and the Jerry Pates of the world. So I saw the best players as well. I hung with them slightly, but again, I just didn't have the depth of game. That came after I took my study seriously. I was an honor student my last year when I didn't have to travel. In my 5th year, it was delightful just being a student. And so I kind of packed it in a little bit in that 5th year. But then once I turned pro, I went to the mini tours down in Florida before getting my card in the 80s. And now I had all day to practice. Never had that before. And all of a sudden it clicked, and I went on to some measure of success.
you mentioned Dr. Patty. What of your teammates, who in your teammates pushed you to make you better?
Well, I was in 2 different periods because I had to sit out a year with Title IX. That was an oddity. That came online, and I was on full scholarship, got cut to half. So I had to sit here because I wasn't able to economically afford that. And so I played with one group, the first segment, Gary Sharber, Ronnie Duff, Bobby Dyke. Bobby had won the Florida high school championships. That was a tremendous, those guys were good. And then Emil Vaughn was here for the second, and he has an incredible record here. He was probably the best player I saw here. A smaller guy with an incredible touch, and was a scrapper. And so I learned from those guys mostly. But I was in my own little world. I think I always felt that I could compete. I just needed to grow and mature. And I was able to do that here.
Once you got going and were on the tour, as you mentioned, it was a shorter time as a touring pro, but a long career as a club pro. And when we talked back in July, you referenced about the life lessons that this game teaches, and the honor and the character that it teaches. What, as your career as a club pro has come to an end, what is the most the part that has been the most fulfilling to you?
Well, this is an amazing game. There's just not any sport. There may be 1 or 2 that are obscure sports where you call penalties on yourself. Early on, I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about that. I was just an idiot. And as the game grew, as a man of faith, I had a belief system, but I didn't understand the integrity side of that. And this game taught me that. I can remember I was at Eastlake, second stage of U.S. Open qualifying in 81, 82. And I'm 2 under the number with 10 holes to play. And I hit it in the left rough, and Eastlake was my home club, went right to this ball, gouged it out, hit it in front of the green, chipped up to a foot, marked my ball as a Titleist 3 384, not a Titleist 3 professional. Oh, and nobody knows, okay? Nobody knows that. I call it, I have to go back, make triple, puts me 1 over the number, made 10 straight pars, and missed by an Open at Marion by 1. Well, I can tell that story today. I'd have probably missed the cut at Marion. It would have just been another Open to have played in. But That's integrity. That's what the game. And I try to pass that along to the countless kids that I've hired through the years that have gone on to tremendous jobs all around the country, that it's honor and integrity that wins the day.
People say, it was just a little thing, but it's not.
No, it's not. Mr. Jones was one of my idols as well, Bobby Jones, growing up in Atlanta, and you know, he made that the cornerstone of his success, really. That and the fact that he stayed amateur. It is important, and I didn't know that early on. I just, you know, that's the evolution of the game, into the game, as you say, and I wanted to make sure. I won a wonderful award, the National Bill Strasbaugh Award from the PGA, which is a mentoring award. It's a big award. And it's that mentoring that I tried to pass along, that very thing, the integrity of the game. The integrity, you know, I own my shop. It was a very good shop, and we did cash. I never took a penny cash because I knew guys that did, and if one of my boys goes on to get caught taking cash in his own shop one day, you know, I'm culpable in that. So no, I've tried to do as best I can there, and by the quality of the individuals that have left our club and gone out into the golf world, I think it's worked.
And the golf world is the right way to put it, because golf allowed you to be a citizen of the world, and part of that world is St. Andrews, and that's amazing. Everybody wants to know, what is it like to play there, but in the bigger picture, allowing you to have the friendships and the relationships around the world, and you talking off camera today about there's a plan to keep that going.
Yes, I'll in retirement, we'll be starting a website, the Old Pros Table, where we chat and I bring a guy to the table and we talk. And yeah, I mean, my relationships run into the thousands around the world. I've been to the UK 83, 85 times. I go to the Dominican, I've been to South America, I've been to Europe. What a spectacular, adventurous life I've had a chance to live, and I'll still continue to travel, limited to some degree based on the family dynamics, but I still hope to get to Europe or the British Isles at least once a season, maybe twice. But I go over there, I know the caddy masters, I know the hotel owners, I know the bar owners, I know the restaurant owners, and it's magnificent. And what other game can foster that type of friendships? And I'm very, very fortunate.
I asked one of the other inductees, who was a basketball player, about what had basketball given her as opposed to what she had given back. Give me the give and take of what golf has been for your life.
Well, it's been the motivator professionally, certainly. As I said earlier, it's the hardest game in the world, and it requires a lot. And I had an old Scottish caddy tell me once, the game always wins. And in the end, the game does always win. We just slip a little bit from it each year. But my enjoyment of it, the friendships, the relationships around the world are just what make a man rich in my book. My giving back, I think, has been to my boys and to my assistants. They make me very proud, all of them, and there are many that have gone out into the world. And then, of course, the 33 years at Secession. That's a special place. And at 75 years and to 100 years, which it will get to, it will sit in the same breath as the Pine Valleys and the Cypresses and the Augustas of the world. And I knew that early on, as did all the people that started it 35 years ago. But it was going to take 75 to 100 years to accomplish that. And for me, personally, that's the biggest honor of my life, was helping to put that club into play. I've been fortunate to play at the highest level, to achieve in the PGA at the highest level, but that one's very special.
As we kind of go full circle, we kind of started with here, we're going to end back with here. And the relationships, your golf relationships really began when you were here on this campus, and they've stuck with you for life. What did it mean to be able to come back, be on this plot of land here in Middle Tennessee, and to go into this Hall of Fame where you will now be, you have another home for the rest of time?
It is very, very special. The Hall of Fames that I've been involved with in golf are golf oriented. Here's a sports Hall of Fame, where golf's just a factor of it. Now there's 160 people in 100 years of existence that are in this hall. So it's a tremendous honor. My time here was invaluable. To be here again now, I think it's been almost 10 years since I was here last, and just to drive around the campus and see it's just stunning. And
there's no more cow pasture out past Cummings Hall.
It didn't take long to get to cow pastures in the old days. It takes a while to get to cow pastures now. It's just meant everything to me, Chip. It's spectacular, and I wish I could stick around for a few days. I got to blow back home tomorrow morning, but I'll be back, and I want to, but for me to sit in this hall with Mr. Patty, Harry Gupton, my elementary school principal, is in this Hall of Fame. I almost fell over when he passed away a couple of months ago, and I got the obit, and he played basketball and baseball here in the 50s. This is special. These are special people, and this is a special place, and I am honored to be here.
Folks, I told you it was a fantastic class, and they're so good that they even have some memorabilia here in the Hall of Fame already. Bryce Brentz, his Team USA jersey. Alicia Clark, who's a two-time WNBA champion, her jersey is in here already as well. Terrific class, spans the globe, spans all sports. And you know, Chris Massaro, our Director of Athletics, every year has a great knack for putting things in perspective. Let's hear from him now.
As Director of Athletics, on behalf of all of our athletics department, I want to congratulate these inductees into the Hall of Fame. And one of the things that really struck me as I was looking at this is our Hall of Fame got better today. I mean, the achievements of these 6 individuals are really unbelievable, what they've accomplished while they're at MTSU, and maybe even more impressively since they left MTSU. And for future inductees, they're going to be measured by this class, and I think people will measure themselves by your accomplishments. So I want to congratulate you and your families. This is really a remarkable achievement, and I don't think one that comes by accident. I mean, one of the common things that I've seen is your work ethic and your love of sport and what you guys have contributed to your sport. So we are truly honored to have you into our Hall of Fame, and I thank you for choosing MTSU way back when you had your choice of what college to attend. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of common thread here, but one of the biggest ones is that you're winners. When I look and see kind of with this group what they've accomplished, and their success is no accident. So we're honored and thrilled that you're in our Hall of Fame. And Kendall Newson, you helped really define that. When I came here in 2005, your footprints were all over our football program, even though your last year was, I think, 2001. But people were still talking about you, and you are still the gold standard. You're still what our wide receivers measure themselves by. So your impact has been lasting and been permanent. Clay Snellgrove, your athletic feats preceded me as well in my tenure here. But I first came familiar with you when Coach Pete gave me your book that you wrote. And it was a great book. I remember I read it in a day or two and thinking, I got to learn more about this guy. And so I looked up your records and your accomplishments and went, holy smoke. This guy was a complete player, both offensively and defensively, and helped add to kind of our whole lineage at shortstop and kind of how legendary you were with that. And as I look at kind of you and what we use as an example is you define of getting every piece of success out of your body that you possibly could. So you're also the standard we hold ourselves to. Heather Prater Warren, we've had great shooters in our Lady Raider history. I mean, some really unbelievable shooters, and I'm probably going to miss a few when I start listing them out, but You know, in just my tenure alone, that I'm thinking about Anne Marie Lanning, I'm thinking about Jackie Pickle, I'm thinking about Bria Edwards, I'm thinking about Brandy Brown. I mean, people that Abby Sissom, people that could step behind the arc and shoot it, and for you to be first and second in three-point field goal percentage for an entire season, that you hold the top of that record book, that alone is a tremendous accomplishment. Then when I look and see all your assists and how much you contributed, and you contributed to winning with 2 OVC titles, it's easy to see why you were selected into the Hall of Fame, and I congratulate you on that. Mike Harmon, you know, when people talk about Mike Harmon and tell me stories about Mike Harmon, the first thing they lead off with is what an incredible human being Mike Harmon truly is, and how classy he is. And then you start getting into his accomplishments and his golf accomplishments. And while he was a Blue Raider, and how we were great in the OVC, and then he's our only Blue Raider to play regularly on the PGA Tour. So that's tremendous in itself. And then you look at his post MTSU life and beyond the tour, and how he's the consummate golf professional and been head pro at Secession, which is one of the best clubs in the country, for 33 years. So just some remarkable achievements in the game of golf. And it's easy to see in meeting you and talking to you just how accurate everybody's right, and talking about how classy you really are. So Mike, congratulations. We're honored that you're in our Hall of Fame. Bryce Brentz, I don't know really how to describe you. You know, your work ethic, your blue-collar attitude come to mind. But I think Clay Snellgrove probably said it the best when he described you as the Babe Ruth of Blue Raider baseball. And that really captures everything. You're the most legendary hitter we've ever had, and your sophomore year as a college baseball fan is the best I've ever seen. You came this close to winning the Triple Crown. You led the nation in home runs. You led it in RBIs, and I think you're in the top 5 in batting average. I mean, it was an unbelievable baseball year. And really, that was 3 strong years you had here. And then you being in the major leagues, being a #1 draft choice, you've continued to shine just such a great light on MTSU that I'm so proud of you and your accomplishments. And every time I watched you on television, I would burst with pride. Speaking of bursting with pride, I mean, that's what I do when I talk about Alicia Clark. What can you really say? I mean, when you take one of our athletes and you say, what is our ideal Blue Raider, she's got to be in the discussion. I mean, she really has accomplished everything you could want, and she's just a winner. She does things to win. She transforms herself, does what she needs to do to win basketball games, to make herself better. I will never forget your performances. You know, and you go to the Sun Belt Conference tournament, average over 40 a game for those games. I mean, just incredible. You always played your best at the biggest games. And that's one thing that always stuck with me. And then watching you and following your pro career and how you've retooled your game, and you've become all defensive team, the only unanimous choice this year to be on the WNBA all defensive team. You've won titles overseas. You're a 2-time WNBA world champion. I mean, it's an unbelievable storybook career. And the thing that fascinates me about you, Alicia, is your story still being written. You know, and you've still got some basketball to write, and how you're going to transform yourself and get better every year. And then I'm also fascinated to see kind of what you do post-career, post-basketball career, because you're one of those people that is going to be a huge success story in whatever field you choose to go to. So I'm curious, and I can't wait to watch your accomplishments. When I look at this class, that's the overriding thing that I see is these people are winners, and they're dedicated to their sport. They're dedicated to their individual achievement and the drive to get better. And those lessons live on with our current student athletes. You guys are the example, and we appreciate you, and we're honored that you're in our Hall of Fame. So on behalf of all involved with Blue Raider Athletics, I congratulate you, and I am thrilled that you're now officially part of our 2020 class of the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, for your thoughts, and what a nice way to put a bow on this group being inducted into the Hall of Fame. You know, this building behind me, the Emmett and Rose Kennan Hall of Fame, you know, it's the depository of Blue Raider history. It's where our heroes still live. And the next time you're on campus, I hope you get a chance to stop by and take a quick stroll down memory lane. It's been great. What a class. I'm not sure there's ever been one any better. There may have been an equal, but Mike Harmon from golf, Kendall Newson from football, Heather Prater Warren and Alicia Clark from women's basketball, and then you've got Clay Snellgrove and the great Bryce Brentz from Blue Raider baseball. It's a special, special group, and hope that you celebrate them just like we are here today. That'll be it for our show tonight. Don't forget, wherever you go and whatever you do, always be loud, be proud, and be blue. Good night, everybody, from the Blue Raider Hall of Fame.